Hi to everybody watching. This is just a brief video explaining how to conduct specific database searches using a variety of databases, including Sonal, PsycInfo, and Medline. This video tutorial will explain how to best construct a clinically answerable question, how to translate that question into search terms to produce fitting results, and how to determine the appropriateness of the results produced. So before we begin our search, it's best to first have a clear idea of what aspects of the given clinical scenario need to be addressed during the search. So we'll read the clinical scenario, and it reads as follows. Jane is 4 years of age and has been diagnosed as having intellectual disability. Her speech and language are very delayed in that she only uses some single words and knows a few signs, including drink, lolly, help, and more. She has recently started an early intervention program in which the speech pathologist Laney is using a milieu incidental teaching approach to increase the child's language production, providing models of single and two-word combinations in words and signs. Her parents were concerned that this wasn't really teaching like more traditional drill and practice methods and wouldn't result in improvements in Jane's language skills. So using this information, we are able to establish the 4 crucial elements of the scenario which need to be included in any search attempts in order to produce the best results. I've highlighted each element on this document in different colours so that they correspond with each individual PACO element, being population, intervention, comparison, and outcome. So using the PACO framework, we are able to establish a clinical question. After analysing the scenario, I was able to establish that the population was 4-year-olds or preschool-age children with an intellectual disability. The intervention was the milieu incidental teaching approach. The comparison was more traditional methods of practice, and the outcome was an increase and improvement in the children's language production and skills. Using these aspects, we can build a clinical question, and I've listed mine on this slide. So using this information, we can now create a PACO table of possible search terms. These search terms should closely reflect, if not be exactly the same as what is stated in your scenario, to ensure that any results will be as closely linked to your needs as possible. So to construct my table, I've taken the clinically important elements from the paragraph and expanded them to create more usable search terms in case certain terms do not produce accurate results. So as you can see in my table, we've got 4 possible uses for the population. We can use child, children, preschool aged, or intellectual disability. For the intervention, we can use the milieu program. For the comparison, it was the traditional methods. And the outcome, we're looking to see improvement in language production and improvement in language skills. Before I take to my databases, I need to be aware that there are methods of manipulating my search in order to possibly produce more relevant results. Search enhancers can be teamed with your search terms in order to better reflect the needs of your clinical scenario. After conducting my searches, I found the following 3 to be the most helpful. I was able to add an asterisk to the end of any word in my search term that could have an other word ending. The asterisk allows the word I searched to become a multitude of different but relevant words by allowing that word to have any possible ending. So if I typed in the word child and added the asterisk on the end, that word could then become children, or childish, or childs in any search term. By typing the word and into my search, it means that it requires all listed terms to appear in the search results. So if I wanted to search children and milieu, if I put the word and in there, any results that came up would have to include both of those terms. And by using quotation marks in my search, I can guarantee that what I've written word for word in my search bar will come up word for word within my results. So I found Medline quite a simple database to use as you begin a new search on the homepage. It's really clear and concise. It's just got a simple search bar that asks you to pop in your search term. You can search that, and then it'll ask you to just clarify what your search term is. It'll come up with a list of things that it thinks are similar or exact, and you click that as well. And there'll also be an option to click explode next to that search term as well, and that'll just expand the number of results you may get from that option. So I typed in my options, which included preschool children, I typed in intellectual disability, I typed in milieu, and I typed in language. So I'd popped all those in and I'd selected them from the list that they gave me, and I exploded all my options. And then it took me to a page where I was able to select which of my search terms I wanted to search together. So because I was hoping to find some results that were as relevant as possible to my clinical scenario, I checked the boxes next to every search term that I had given to the Medline database. When I checked all those boxes, I then clicked the AND option underneath those boxes, which means I'm asking the database to search for all 4 of my search terms together, and they must all be included in whatever results the database finds. So searching my 4 options using the AND feature actually produced 0 results. So I had to go back and think about how I could broaden my search a little bit without broadening it to the extent that made my search results not relevant to what I was hoping to find. So I unchecked the language option, which means I was purely looking for children of a preschool age, including milieu therapy and intellectual disability. And this came back with 6 results this time. The majority of these 6 results actually seemed quite relevant to me, and I was really happy with how simple Medline was to use and how easy the features were to use AND or the OR feature, and also to export any of the articles I did find into devices on my computer. The next database I'm going to look at is PsycInfo, which I found very, very similar to the first database we looked at, which was Medline. And this is because Medline and PsycInfo use the same supplier. So you can see that both PsycInfo and Medline use a similar searching process, but because both of the databases have different resources, you will see different results be available to you. I also found with PsycInfo that once I entered my search terms, they were presented in a different way than they were on Medline, and it was as if information had been added to my search terms, which confused me a little bit, but I still proceeded to enter my 4 search terms and then check the boxes next to the ones that I wanted to be included in my search. So again, I started with the 4, which was language, intellectual disability, milieu and preschool age children, and this search produced minimal to no relevant results. In fact, I was given no results from my 4 search terms, searching them together using the AND feature, and so I had to broaden my search a little bit, and eventually, as seen in the video, 2 of my entered 4 search terms were used to produce 15 results, and of those 15 results, I found them to be a little bit wayward as to how similar they were or how relevant they were to what I was searching for. And I think this may be due to the fact that PsycInfo may be predominantly used for psychology or psychiatry based information seeking or research seeking, and so it wasn't really the database I should be using for something as specific as this. So Sonal is my 3rd and final database that I'll quickly be talking you through for my presentation here. It's presented quite differently to my first 2, Medline and PsycInfo. The main search page is actually really easy to use, and it has the AND feature, as do the other 2 databases, but it's quite that bit more clearer and a bit more accessible than PsycInfo and Medline. So in this database, you're able to type in your main, search term, and then there are 2 search field or search bars below, and you can search 3 different topics at once, and the AND features are there to be used as searching all 3 at once from the get-go, rather than scrolling through, adding a search term one by one, and then later on selecting your given terms or the ones you want to be added all together to find your final result. However, similarly to the other 2, you can just type in one search term at a time, and then later on you can still see all your search terms numbered, and then you can check the boxes next to your search terms and still decide for yourself which ones you'd like to search with the AND feature and which ones you'd like to see come up all together in the one article. So just like the previous 2 databases, I did have to do some altering of my search preferences to come up with some results that were relevant to me. So I continued with my 4 search terms, which were preschool children, intellectual disability, milieu, and the last one, which has slipped my mind all of a sudden, was language. and those four using the AND feature produced no results for me again. So again, I selected the language option, and it came up with some good results for me, which I found quite relevant. Sonal also has this great feature. Down the left-hand side of the page, there's a few options to refine your results, to tailor them to what best suits you and what best suits your needs and the relevant. So after I had finished searching my databases, I came up with my top 5 search results, and I've looked at those and sort of gauged them in regards to the NHMRC hierarchy of level of evidence. So what I've found is that most of my top 5 are deemed randomized control trials, which puts them higher up on the level of evidence. And the one at the top of my list I deem to be the most relevant also to my clinical scenario. As we go down the list, you can still see that my top 4 are randomized control trials, which means they are high in evidence, but I deem them to be less relevant to my clinical scenario. And maybe even the randomized control trial wasn't as extensive as the one above or the one preceding it, which means the level of evidence is a little bit lower, but still good being a randomized control trial. The last one on my list of 5, as you can see, is a case series. This is lower on the NHMRC hierarchy or the level of evidence scale, which means it's not going to be as evidence-based for me, and it's also not as meaningful to me in regards to my scenario. To finish off my video today, I'd just like to leave you with a reference list of some of the articles that came up during my searches, and these are some of my top 5 that I popped in my table for you to look at. I really hope you found this video useful. I hope you found it informative and clear and concise, and I hope it aids you on your own searching journey. Thank you.